Hello students, once again I am welcoming you all in my lecture series on classical optics for Physics 1. Myself, Dr. Sucharita Bhattacharya from Guru Nanak Institute of Technology, Kolkata, is delivering my current lecture session for first semester BTech course, and the students under considerations are from streams of computer science and engineering, information technology, and food technology. Today I am starting the lecture 2 of my session. Now, let us take a look what is there in today's lecture session. Actually, in the last class, we have started with module 2 on classical optics, and presently we are doing the submodule 2.01 in the form of interference of light, where we have been allocated total 3 lectures. Now, today's lecture session is the second lecture of this interference of light, where I will continue my last class's discussion on Young's double slit experiment in the form of intensity distribution, then conservation of energy and interference, and conditions of sustained interference, then fringe width expression and its clarification. Okay. Naturally, the questions to be addressed are as follows. What about the positions of maxima and minima so far as intensity distribution is concerned, without which we cannot do the intensity distribution? Next one, after getting the idea about the positions of maxima and minima, you go for the drawing of intensity distribution curve. So how to draw it and what about its appearance? Next question, is there any violation in law of conservation of energy in interference, because we are talking about the positions of maxima and minima? Next questions to be addressed, what are the conditions for sustained interference? Then we will go for what is fringe width and what about its expression, how to get it. Then we will go for identification of white light source with the help of fringe width expression, how to do that. Very, very important discussion. And then we will address few sample MCQs, that is multiple choice questions on the lessons so far we are covering. Okay. Now, to start with intensity distribution using path difference, let us start with the resultant intensity expression, what we found out in the last lesson in the form of I equal to 4 square cos square pi d by lambda, where I is the resultant intensity already mentioned, A is the amplitude of the superposing waves, and D is the path difference. D is the path difference of any point P on the screen with respect to the superposing waves. And lambda is the wavelength of the corresponding monochromatic light. Now take a look at points where D, the path difference, is expressed as 2n plus minus 1 lambda by 2. That means odd multiple of lambda by 2. What about this factor? Cos pi d by lambda will come out to be 0. That means intensity will be 0 according to the equation number 4. Actually, in the last class, we have gone through the fact that in this expression, cos square pi d by lambda is the variable factor because of the presence of d, the path difference of any point on the screen with respect to the two sources. We consider them as S1 and S2. So, at points where we are getting that path difference d is expressed as odd multiple of lambda by 2, because it is 2n plus minus 1 lambda by 2. So whatever be the n value, obviously integer like 0, 1, 2, 3, it will always be odd multiple of lambda by 2. And if you put the value here, this factor will come out as odd multiple of pi by 2. And cos of odd multiple of pi by 2 always comes out to be 0. So, under these conditions, superposing waves interfere destructively, producing zero intensity, and those points will appear as dark points on the screen. The appearance of the alternating bands we have seen in the last class. So, there we got alternate bright and dark points, and this is the condition of destructive interference, that is D should be equal to plus minus 2n plus minus 1 lambda by 2. N is the order of the interference. The values are 0, 1, 2, 3, and I minimum equal to 0. Now, on the other hand, at points where D is expressed as plus minus 2n lambda by 2, that means even multiple of lambda by 2, we are getting cos pi d by lambda to be plus or minus 1. Why plus or minus 1? 2n lambda by 2, basically it is plus minus n lambda. So, in place of D, if you put plus minus n lambda, lambda will cancel out, you will get n pi. Now, depending upon n values, if it is odd, then cos pi, cos 3 pi, cos 5 pi will give you minus 1 value. And if n is considered to be even, what you will get that cos 2 pi, cos 4 pi like this, that will give us the 1 value. But in the intensity expression, we are getting it as cos square. So definitely cos pi d by lambda, though comes out to be plus minus 1, in the intensity we will get I equal to 4 square from expression 4. So at points where path difference d is an even multiple of lambda by 2, mind it is path, so it is expressed in terms of lambda, the wavelength, because dimensionally path must be of some length. That's why. Superposing waves interfere constructively, producing maximum intensity, and those points will appear as bright points, obviously. That means the condition of constructive interference will come out as D equal to plus minus 2n lambda by 2, where n equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, again representing the order of maxima, and I maxima value equal to 4 square. Definitely at other points, intensity varies between 0 to 4 square. I minima 0, I maxima 4 square. The two extreme cases we are considering. In between, intensity will vary between these two values. And here you must take into consideration that we have taken the amplitude of the superposing waves to be exactly same, that is A and A, but it may be A1 and A2. In that case, the intensity will be expressed as for maximum A1 plus A2 whole square, and for minimum it is A1 minus A2 whole square. In our case, it is A plus A whole square. So 4 square we are getting, and A minus A whole square equal to 0, that we are getting. So I think you understand the things very clearly, isn't that? So let us now move to another part. That means intensity distribution using phase difference. Is it possible? Obviously, our answer will be yes, because we know that phase difference equal to 2 pi by lambda into path difference. So, since we know the expression of intensity in terms of path difference, we can convert it to phase difference very easily. Just take a look. I equal to 4 square cos square pi d by lambda. It is the expression of intensity in terms of path difference, because d is here. Now, if you want to express it in terms of phase difference, it will be equal to 4 square cos square delta by 2. Why? Because pi d by lambda, look here, pi d by lambda means simply delta by 2, where delta is the phase difference. That means 4 square cos square delta by 2 equal to I. Now, use simple trigonometry to convert this delta by 2 factor in terms of cos 2 delta by 2. That means we have used here the formula of cos 2 theta. From there, we are replacing cos square delta by 2 equal to 1 plus cos 2 delta by 2 into 2. So 4a square, from there we are getting 2a square, and 2 times of that factor, that is 2 cos square delta by 2 equal to 1 plus cos 2 delta by 2, using the trigonometric formula for cos 2 theta. And from here we are getting I to be equal to 2a square into 1 plus cos delta. That means I equal to 2a square into 1 plus cos delta is the resultant intensity expression in Young's double slit experiment in terms of phase difference, and this is the expression in terms of path difference. Obviously, both are equivalent to each other. Now, if we want to have the constructive interference condition or positions of maxima in terms of phase, what we will get? Just take a look here. 1 plus cos delta. That means maximum value of cos delta equal to plus 1. So 1 plus 1 equal to 2, and you will get 4a square, the value with which you are already familiar. Now for which value of delta you will expect cos delta to be always plus 1? Obviously, it will be 2n pi plus minus 2n pi. That means even multiple of pi. Now it is the phase difference. So phase difference, if expressed as even multiple of pi, you will get I to be equal to I max, that is 4a square. Obviously, n equal to 0, 1, 2, 3 represent the order of maxima. Similarly, for destructive interference or positions of minima, what should be the minimum value of cos delta? It will determine the minimum value of I. Now the minimum value of cos delta equal to minus 1. Now for which values of delta you will get minus 1? We know that it is the odd multiple. In this case we got the even multiple of pi. Here we will get odd multiple of pi, because we know cos pi, cos 3 pi, cos 5 pi gives us minus 1. In general, it is expressed as delta equal to 2n plus minus 1 into pi to give us the position of destructive interference or minima. And obviously, n here represents the order of minima, and I minima, that is the minimum intensity, is expressed as 0, just like the case of path difference. Actually, for your understanding, I may give you one more idea, that in case of path difference, you got odd multiple of lambda by 2 and even multiple of lambda by 2 as the condition for destructive interference and constructive interference. Since you know that phase difference equal to 2 pi by lambda into path difference, you all know that phase difference equal to 2 pi by lambda into path difference. So the path difference conditions, if you put here, you can get the corresponding phase difference conditions, which are nothing but these two. Please try at your own, you will surely get it. Okay. Now we got the positions of maximum and minimum. So now we can draw the intensity distribution curve for interference, both in terms of phase as well as in terms of path. Let us take a look. So here the intensity is the dependent variable, and so it is plotted along y, and phase difference delta or path difference d are independent variables. That's why we have plotted them along x. Let us consider in terms of delta first, because the expression is here. So just take a look. At 0, if n equal to 0, you will come under the position of maxima as per this condition. So what is the maximum intensity? 4a square you are getting. Next one, plus 2 pi plus 4 pi minus 2 pi minus 4 pi. That means plus minus is coming from here. Plus means the right hand side, and minus means the left hand side with respect to the zero line we are considering. Okay. Now, when delta is expressed as even multiple of pi, that means plus minus 2 pi, plus minus 4 pi, plus minus 6 pi, you will get maximum intensity 4 square. And when delta is expressed as odd multiple of pi, that means plus minus pi, plus minus 3 pi, plus minus 5 pi, you are getting delta to be, the I minimum to be 0. That's why you are getting this 0 points at odd multiple of pi. Now, if you want to draw it in terms of path difference, naturally the multiples will be odd or even multiple of lambda by 2, and here it will be d the path difference. Just in place of pi, you will write 1 lambda by 2 minus 1 lambda by 2 plus minus pi plus minus 2 pi. What you will write? 2 lambda by 2 minus 2 lambda by 2 plus minus 3 pi. What you will write? 3 lambda by 2 minus 3 lambda by 2, because we know that delta equal to 2 pi by lambda into d. So if one is given either phase or path, other can be obtained very easily, and in the same intensity expression you can put the corresponding values of d, because you can express the intensity distribution curve either in terms of delta or in terms of d, that is the phase difference and the path difference, in a similar manner. And I hope you students now understanding the things very clearly, that why we have gone through the relationship between the path difference and phase difference, because it is a very basic tool with the help of which you can move in the interference chapter as well as the diffraction chapter very easily as per your requirement. Okay. Now let us move to the very important part, that is the interference and conservation of energy. Just take a look in the last intensity distribution curve. What we got, that at alternating points we are getting the positions of maxima and minima as per the observation what we got in the last class. Today, in today's session, already we are understanding that why we are getting at alternating points the positions of maximum and minimum. Naturally, the question comes to our mind, is there any destruction of light energy occurs because there is positions of maxima and minima alternatively? Definitely, what about our answer? As till date, no physically acceptable phenomena have shows the destruction of energy, that means violation of conservation of energy. Obviously, our answer will be from practical point of view that there is no destruction of light energy occurs in interference, because it does not transform light energy into any other forms of energy, so that the total amount of energy must remain constant. I am repeating, as there is no transformation of energy from optical one, that is light energy, to any other forms of energy. So the first criteria for conservation of energy, that energy must be conserved. Now, what about that positions of maxima and minima at alternative points? Here, what is happening basically is a redistribution of energy. In case of intensity distribution, what we are getting a redistribution of energy. The energy which apparently disappears at the dark fringes are actually present in the bright fringes, because at the positions of the bright points, the energy we are getting as 4 square. So 4 square is the energy at the positions of bright point or maxima, and 0 is the energy at the positions of minima or dark point. That means average value of energy over any number of fringes must be same as if interference effects are absent. If there is no destruction of light energy, then there must be a redistribution of energy. That means the average value of energy over any number of fringes must be same as if the interference effects are absent. Let us now check this point very carefully. As an example, let us calculate the average value of energy on a screen over the range, say delta equal to 0 to delta equal to 2 pi. That means over a complete cycle, let us consider the average value of intensity on the screen. Now, this is the definition of I average from simple mathematics. It is the ratio of total intensity divided by the total phase interval. That means I d delta by d delta over a complete cycle of integration 0 to 2 pi, 0 to 2 pi. D delta we are considering a very small, that is infinitesimally small phase interval. So what about IV delta? The total intensity on that interval, if it is integrated from 0 to 2 pi, that means over a complete cycle what you are considering, and in the denominator, the total phase interval. Total intensity divided by total phase interval over a complete cycle integration. So it is nothing but I average. Now what about I in terms of delta? A few minutes back we got it, that is 2a square into 1 plus cos delta. So I value is 2a square into 1 plus cos delta, other terms remaining as usual, and 2a square we have taken outside because it is independent of delta. Now look at this expression. Here you will get two terms in the numerator, d delta plus cos d delta d delta. Now d delta by d delta means 1, and cos d delta d delta, if you integrate over 0 to 2 pi, you will get simply 0. That means what is the net result you are getting? That is 2a square as average intensity during interference over a complete cycle 0 to 2 pi. Now, in absence of interference phenomenon, if there are two waves present with amplitudes A for each, then what about the total intensity present there? I1 plus I2 equal to 2A square, because amplitude is A. That means what about the intensity or energy? A square plus A square equal to 2A square. That means in absence of interference, for two sources, each having amplitude say, you are getting I equal to 2A square. After interference, what is happening? I average equal to I max plus I minimum by 2. Now what about I max? That is 4A square. What about I minimum? That is 0. So what about average? 2A square. That means during interference, before interference, after interference, the average value of energy remaining same. That means we can conclude that there is no violation of law of conservation of energy in interference phenomenon. Very, very important conclusion, that there is no violation of law of conservation of energy in interference phenomenon. Okay. Let us now move to the all important conditions for sustained interference. We have gone through many of the factors associated with interference effect and the phenomenon itself. Now, what about the conditions about which we have to be careful, and already we have taken care of those. Let us now sum up them one after another. The first one, sources should be narrow. You use the slits and close to each other for distinct fringes. Sources should be narrow and close to each other for distinct fringes. how much closer it should be. That slit width must be of the order of lambda. Slit width must be of the order of lambda. Lambda means the visible light wavelength, 4,000 to 8,000 angstrom. So very small. Accordingly, your slit width you have taken must be of the order of lambda. This is the condition we satisfy not only for interference but for diffraction. That means in wave theory itself. Okay. Now come to the second condition. The original source must emit light of single wavelength or very nearly monochromatic. The original source must emit light of single wavelength or very nearly monochromatic. We already considered that factor, that lambda must be a single one, that is monochromatic preferably. The waves must have the same period. Lambda is same means period must be same. Also their amplitudes must be equal or very nearly equal. Also their amplitudes must be equal. We consider that, or very nearly equal. A little bit difference, infinitesimal small change may be there. Next one, two interfering waves must be propagated in almost the same direction, or the interfering wave fronts must intersect at a very small angle. Definitely, interfering waves must be propagated in almost the same direction. In the last session, we have seen that because we will get there the region of superposition very easily, and interfering wave fronts, it will be very helpful if they are exactly parallel to each other, or if they intersect, then intersection angle must be very small. Okay. Next one, two interfering waves must be in the same state of polarization. Now, for the time being, since different state of polarization are not with which you are not at all familiar till now, so for the time being, just consider this condition to be what you have to be remembered. Consider this condition to be remembered, that two interfering waves must be in the same state of polarization, because still you are not at all familiar with different state of polarization. That's why I can't clarify this. I am not clarifying this, but mind it, the polarization state must be same for two interfering waves. Next one, most importantly, two interfering waves must originally originate from the same source of light, so they must be coherent, which means either they are in the same phase or they must have a fixed and predictable phase relationship between them. So, the most important condition I have taken at the last, so that you can remember it always. The two interfering waves must originally originate from the same source of light. We have seen that S1 and S2 are originated from S. So they must be coherent. That means their phases must be same, or if they have any phase relationship or difference, that must be fixed and predictable with respect to time. That is called the conditions of coherence. So the two interfering waves must be in the same phase, or they maintain fixed phase relationship with time. So mind it, these are the different conditions of sustained interference. That means the interference which will show you the fringe pattern which remaining constant with respect to time. That's why it is termed as sustained interference. And out of this, obviously, the last one is most important, without which there is no possibility of any kind of sustained interference pattern. So be careful about this point. Now, let us move to the most important, another important area, that is the fringe width calculation. Actually, in the last class, we have consider the fact by looking at the screen that the screen is intersected by alternate regions of bright and dark bands which are of equal width known as fringe width. Now, how these equal width factors arises and how this type of alternate bright and dark points are arising, since it is already known to us, now let us consider the equal separation between alternate bright and dark bands in the form of fringe width. For that purpose, the experimental arrangement, simply the cross-sectional view, we have considered here. So the first cardboard, where the first slit is S, which is illuminated by monochromatic source of light, preferably from the left hand side. Then we have used the second cardboard with two slits S1 and S2 equidistant with respect to S. Then we have the third cardboard used as screen on which we will get the positions of alternate maxima and minima. That means S1 and S2 are two monochromatic and obviously coherent sources because they are derived from S. They emit waves of same amplitude A and same wavelength. We are considering lambda. Let us consider a screen which is placed perpendicular with respect to this plane. The screen is kept perpendicular with respect to this plane and obviously across the path of the waves. Across the path of the waves. Now, since S1 and S2 start emitting their own wave pattern at same instant of time or phase, because SS1 equal to SS2, and the light waves coming out of S1 and S2, they will move through this space, that means free space with C. So definitely they will intersect or interfere in the meantime. And if we consider any point, say C, which is equidistant with respect to S1 and S2, then as the paths S1C equal to S2C, we will always expect maximum at the point C. I am repeating this particular point C. What about that? From S1 and S2, the waves are coming out and they are interfering in the position between the second cardboard and the screen. Because of their interference and satisfying the conditions of maximum and minimum, we will find that on the screen, alternate positions of maximum and minimum is there with equal separation between them. Now, why this equal separation is coming? Let us now explore that factor. To do that, let us first take a point C on the screen, which is just opposite to the middle point of S1, S2. The separation between S1, S2 we have taken to be small d, and from the middle point of S1, S2 draw a perpendicular which cuts the screen at C. That means S1C and S2C equal. So the waves which are starting from, so just these points are shown here, what I already mentioned. You just take a look for your convenience. Okay. So slit screen separation is D. This is small d and slit screen separation is capital D. Now, C is equidistant with respect to S1 and S2. That means S1C equal to S2C. Waves are starting at same time and these paths are same and they are traveling with same velocity. So both the waves will reach simultaneously at C always. That means both the waves are meeting at C at same phase. So C will be the position of maximum always because amplitudes and intensity will be maximum according to principle of superposition. As both the sources emit waves at same time, they will reach at C at same time. So C is the position of central maximum. So C means central maximum. You will always get maximum there. Now, let us take a look at the point P, which is on the screen and at a distance x from C. The point P is on the screen at a distance x from C. Definitely from the figure it is very clear that S1P is not equal to S2P. That means there is a path difference unlike S1C and S2C. Naturally, whether the point P will be a bright or dark, that will depend on the path difference S2P minus S1P. So we have to first find out the path difference S2P minus S1P to identify whether P will be bright or dark and depending upon what conditions. Okay. So for that purpose, let us do two things. First, with respect to S2, you draw a perpendicular which cuts the screen at the point T. Now consider the right triangle S2PT. Consider the right triangle S2PT and apply Pythagoras theorem there. That means you will get S2P square equal to S2T square plus PT square. Okay? S2T square plus PT square. Now what about the values? S2T square is unknown to us. Now what about S2T square? That is capital D square. And what about PT? Now with respect to C, this is the distance, say X. And what about this? This is D by 2 because total distance is small d. That means we are getting from here S2P square equal to capital D square plus X plus D by 2 whole square, equation number 1. Similarly, from S1, let us drop a perpendicular which cuts the screen at the point R. That means now we are considering the right triangle S1PR. S1PR and apply the Pythagoras theorem to have S1P square equal to S1R square plus PR square. That means S1P square equal to D square plus X minus D by 2 plus X minus D by 2 whole square. That is equation number 2. Now, let us do the subtraction 1 to 2. What we will find? S2P square minus S1P square equal to 2D into X. Now, this is S2P minus S1P. In the next step, we are getting S2P minus S1P. That means 2dx divided by S2P plus S1P because it is S square minus B square. Now here capital D is much greater than small d. So S2P is nearly equal to S1P, nearly equal to D. So capital D is much greater than small d. So S2P nearly equal to S1P, nearly equal to D. That means the path difference of the wave reaching at P, that is given by S2P minus S1P equal to dx by d. So dx by d is the path difference of the wave reaching the point, that is S2P minus S1P equal to dx by d. Don't consider this symbol, it is for path difference. So don't mix up. You may not use it. It is better not to use it. Just write path difference. Just write path difference equal to S2P minus S1P equal to dx by d. What about small d? Small d is the separation between the two slits. What about x? X is the position of P from C, the central maximum, any point on the screen. What about capital D? The slit screen separation. Now, what about maxima? If P be the position of nth bright point from C, if P be the position of nth bright points from C, the central maximum, then what will happen from here? It will be dxn by d. That's why in the diagram I have considered that is xn. Look here, that is for the general one. Okay. So if P be the position of nth byte point from C, then in that expression dxn by d will be equal to even multiple of lambda by 2, because this is the path difference and already we know the condition in terms of path difference. Plus minus means with respect to the baseline, that means from C, upper sides and the lower sides, that represents plus minus with respect to baseline. Okay. So what about xn? Xn equal to, so 2 will cancel out, dn lambda by d plus minus dn lambda by d. Capital dn lambda by small d, the position of the nth bright point. So xn is the position of the nth bright point from C. Obviously n equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you put n equal to 0 here, what you will get? This will be 0. N equal to 0 means the position of central maximum. And position of central maximum means the point C itself, the reference point with respect to which you are taking the distance. So central maxima, obviously it will be at 0. So if you put n equal to 0, you will get that. If you replace n by n plus 1, that means you are considering the consecutive point. The consecutive point, what you will find out? Plus minus d, n will be replaced by n plus 1 lambda by d. So it is for n plus 1th bright point. This is for nth bright point. This is the consecutive bright point, n plus 1th bright point. You can do in terms of n minus 1 also. You can do in terms of n minus 1 also. So what about the separation between two consecutive bright points? N plus 1th and nth. What about the separation? That is xn plus 1 minus xn. It will come out as d lambda by d. So capital D into lambda by small d. So the separation between consecutive bright point comes out to be d lambda by small d. It depends on directly the slit screen separation, directly on wavelength, and inversely with the separation between the two slits. Now, if P be the position of nth dark point from C, because we don't know actually what will happen at P. It will depend upon the separation, that is the path difference between them and the conditions they are satisfying. Okay. So if P be the position of nth dark point from C, the central maximum, the reference point is always central maximum. Then what changes we have to make here? Previously it was dxn by d equal to plus minus 2n plus minus 1 lambda by 2 in place of the previous one 2n lambda by 2, because you are considering P be the position of nth dark point from C. So what about xn? The position of nth dark point from C, the position of central maximum, that is given by d by d into 2n plus minus 1 lambda by 2. So xn, the position of the nth dark point with respect to C, the position of central maximum, that is plus minus d by d into 2n plus minus 1 lambda by 2. Now, here we may encounter two cases. Case 1. What about case 1? xn equal to plus minus d by d 2n plus 1 lambda by 2. 2n plus 1 lambda by 2. Now put n here. N equal to 0. What does it represent? You will get some finite positive value. Now n equal to 0 represent here position of first dark point. Because mind it, there is no central dark point. At center, you have the position of maxima. So if you use 2n plus 1 in the expression for xn in dark case or minima case, n equal to 0 gives you first dark point, n equal to 1 second dark point, n equal to 2 third dark point from C. Mind it with plus sign. 1 minus you have to consider with respect to, or rather 1 plus you have to consider insofar as dark points are concerned for with respect to n. Now case 2. If you consider case 2 in the form of minus here, that means d by d into 2n minus 1 lambda by 2. In that case, n equal to 1, 2, 3 work equally well for n equal to 0, 1, 2. That means here n equal to 1 gives you first minima, n equal to 2 second minima, n equal to 3 the third minima. So during exam, probably it will be better to use it because it will be easier for you to not confuse during exam that n equal to 1 means first dark, n equal to 2 means second dark, n equal to 3 means third dark. Because if you put n equal to 0 here, you will get negative here. That's why to have the logical value, you have to start from n equal to 1. But in this case, you can use n equal to 0, but mind it that you will hold for fast minima because at the C, we always have central maxima and this is our reference point. So be careful at this point. Please don't confuse yourself during the answer part. Clear? So let us now write xn, already we got d by d. Let us start with, say, try with any one. I am trying here with plus 1, 2n plus 1 lambda by 2. What about that? The position of nth dark point from C. Next one is obviously the position of the consecutive one like the bright case. So xn plus 1 plus minus d by d 2, n will be replaced by n plus 1 because I have taken plus 1, that's why I am writing, then plus minus 1 lambda by 2. Okay. Now if you take their separation, what you will find? 2n plus minus 1, you here both is there plus or minus, you can take plus with respect to this one to compare. Okay, if you take the minus, you will take here the minus. In both case, what you will find, xn plus 1 minus xn equal to d lambda by d, the same one as you got for from condition of brightness, that is xn plus 1 minus xn, the separation between the two consecutive dark points, it is again coming as d lambda by d. That means all dark and bright points are equidistant as independent of small n, the order of the fringes, because everything is constant here for a given setup. So all bright and dark points are equidistant as they are independent of n, the order of the fringes, and this separation is called the fringe width. That is the separation between consecutive bright and dark points. It is expressed in terms of beta, the fringe width, equal to d lambda by d. So directly proportional to d, capital D means slit screen separation and wavelength, and inversely proportional to small d. Mind it, the fringes what we are obtaining in case of Young's double slit experiment, they are non-localized because you can not only shift the position of P to have different maximum and minimum, but you can change the positions of the screen too. You can change the positions of the screen too within finite range to have the interference fringe pattern. That's why they are considered to be non-localized. For a white light source, now come here, for a white light source, fringes will appear colored. Obviously, this lambda will be the lambda for all 7 different wavelengths in the visible range. So what about beta? Beta is directly proportional to lambda. So lambda red is greater than lambda violet. So beta for red is larger and beta for violet is smaller. So the fringes will appear colored. So width or separation will be different. The inside edge of each colored band, inside edge means towards C, will appear violet because beta will be less for lambda less, that is violet, and outside edge, that means away from C, will appear as red. But C will appear as white because at C, the paths are same from both sources. S1C equal to S2C. So all colored waves reach in same phase. So you can identify the white lights. You can identify the position of central maximum very easily because it will appear as white for a white light source, which is not possible with monochromatic one, where all maxima will appear same as even the central maxima. Clear? Now let us discuss few multiple choice questions, because the multiple choice question means it is not only 1 mark, it may be 2 or 3 marks too. Just take a look. The path difference between two interfering waves at a point on the screen is 41.5 times lambda. What is the nature of the fringe? Now look here. It is odd multiple of lambda. 0.5 means half will come. Naturally, it will be odd multiple of lambda. So what will be your answer? That it is dark. That is option B. The width of two slits in Young's experiment is in the ratio of 4:9. That means width proportional to intensity. So I1 by I2 equal to 4/9. Find the ratio of intensity of maximum to the intensity of minimum in the interference pattern. Now maximum ratio, maximum intensity means A1 plus A2 whole square, and minimum means A1 minus A2 whole square. Now I1 by I2 means A1 square by A2 square equal to 4/9. So get the ratio of maximum to minimum. Do it at home. You will find the correct answer. Next one. In a double slit interference pattern at a point, 10th order. In a double slit interference pattern at a point, 10th order maximum is observed for light of wavelength 7,000 angstrom. What order will be observed if the source of light is replaced by light of wavelength 5,000 angstrom? So it is a case of 10th order maximum. So path difference equal to even multiple of lambda by 2. That means n lambda, that means 10 into lambda must be equal to unknown n into 5,000, because it is the same maximum but orders are different, wavelengths are different. So find out it. N1 lambda 1 equal to N2 lambda 2. So find out N2. Others are given. Okay. For a line source, the wavefront shape is obviously cylindrical. We have discussed in the last class. In the fringes in Young's double slit experiment is localized, non-localized. Case specific, none of the above. Few minutes back we got it. It is non-localized because slits, you can keep the screen at different position. Light from the sun reaches the surface of the earth in plane wavefront. Already we discussed in our first lesson, because the distance is very large. So circle or the sphere, what we are considering in 3 dimension, definitely its radius of curvature very large. So only curvature will be very small. So it will appear as plane. For interference of light, two sources must be coherent and monochromatic, of exactly same amplitude, very narrow. Look here. Coherent and monochromatic as well as very narrow. Both are equally valid. Coherent and monochromatic, lambda same, coherent, and very narrow, exactly same amplitude may not be considered. Very narrow, slit widths. You are considering slit, so very narrow. So two options are correct here. Okay. In interference, light energy is created, destroyed, redistributed, conserved. Redistributed as well as conserved, both are equally valid. So be careful. This type of MCQ can be asked to you. Okay. So I think the different aspects so far as our today's lesson plan we already discussed, and the possible questions or probable questions I have discussed also. So thank you students. Let us finish our today's session. Be safe and be healthy. Okay.